Hello everyone, Prosperity here. Legion is getting closer and closer, and I'm here to help you prepare for its arrival. This series is taking a closer look at all the changes to each class and spec, going through and picking everything apart to help you better understand what's going on. Welcome to the talent overview for the Affliction Warlock in Legion. If you haven't watched my first two videos on Affliction, now would be a great time to pause this video and check them out before we get into things. The core and advanced combat videos lay down the foundation for what we'll be covering here, so it would benefit you greatly to watch them. I'll leave a link on screen and in the description below for you. Now that we're all caught up, let's get into the meat and potatoes here. Talents. There are 21 to get through, and we're going tier by tier to see what each one does. After we've gone through them all, I will give you my general thoughts. The first tier at level 15 from left to right starts with Haunt. Taking this talent gives you the ability on a 15-second cooldown with a 1.5 second cast time baseline. When cast, it deals shadow damage to your target, resetting the ability if the target dies within 15 seconds of being hit by it. This ability deals slightly more damage than Drain Life, but lacks the utility that Drain Life gives you. Taking Writhe and Agony causes your Agony stacks to accumulate twice as much, bringing the total stack count to 20 up from 10. This adds twice as much damage to your Agony as well, making it an even higher priority to keep your Agony rolling on your targets, since it still accumulates at the same rate. Taking Drain Soul replaces your Drain Life. Drain Soul acts in the same way as Drain Life, but trades slightly increased damage for greatly decreased healing. The spell also has the added effect of filling a soul shard if the target dies during the effect, which is insanely useful for keeping your momentum going from fight to fight or in fights with lots of adds. The next tier at level 30, taking Contagion causes Unstable Affliction to increase your damage dealt to a target affected by it by 15%. This talent is a great single target tool but doesn't bring any other utility to the table other than raw damage. Taking Absolute Corruption causes your Corruption spell to be permanent and deal 25% increased damage. This spell is incredibly useful for fights with multiple targets, as you can set and forget it whenever another target joins the fight. It should be noted that this talent does not boost the priority of Corruption over Agony. Taking Mana Tap gives you the ability. It's instant cast and has no cooldown, and using it costs 25% of your current mana, note, not maximum mana, increasing all your damage by 10% for 20 seconds. This is the hardest talent in the tier to use, but learning how to maintain the damage buff through a fight can be rewarding. The idea is to deplete your mana below 10%, then use Mana Tap to gain the buff. Once you have the buff, use Life Tap to get your mana back and immediately start laying into your enemies. Moving on to the third tier, level 45, taking Demon Skin causes your Soul Leech to recharge by 1% of your maximum health every 1 second, and raises the total absorb on the shield to 20% up from 15%. This talent is very useful for keeping yourself alive and allows you to use your life tap more freely while your healers get you back up to full health. Taking Mortal Coil gives you the ability on a 45-second cooldown and with a 20-yard range. You can instantly cast this on an enemy target, incapacitating them for 3 seconds and healing you for 11% of your maximum health. This is marginally stronger than Demon Skin, but is more reactionary. The other plus side to this talent is that it gives you the health immediately instead of waiting on your drained life or a healer to restore your lost health from life tap. Taking Howl of Terror gives you the ability on a 40-second cooldown. Using this ability is instant, causing 5 enemies within 10 yards to be immediately disoriented for 20 seconds. Any enemy affected by this can be broken out of it by being damaged, including damage over time effects that were already on them. This talent is useful for solo content but has very limited uses in groups. Down to tier number 4 at level 60, taking Siphon Life grants you the ability. It's instant cast and has no cooldown and a 40-yard range. When cast, this spell deals slightly more damage than Corruption over 15 seconds, also healing you for 100% of the damage it deals. This talent works great with Soul Effigy, which I'll get into later on. Taking Sow the Seeds makes it so that Seed of Corruption will consume a Soul Shard to also affect up to 4 additional nearby targets if there's a Soul Shard available. Taking this talent makes using Seed of Corruption even easier than before, as you can cast Agony on everything and then lay into your primary target with Seed of Corruption and Unstable Affliction. Taking Soul Harvest gives you the ability on a 2-minute cooldown. It's instant cast and when used causes yours and your pet's damage to be increased by 20%. This effect lasts for 10 seconds and increases by 2 seconds for each target affected by your Agony spell, all the way up to 30 seconds total. Making the most of this talent requires a lot of patience and setup, but pulling it off will be very rewarding. For the 5th tier at level 75, taking Demonic Circle will grant you the ability. It has a half-second cast time and has 2 spell effects. The first time you cast it, a circle will form beneath you that lasts for 6 minutes. Casting a second time while the circle is active will immediately teleport you to it, removing all movement slowing effects. Once you teleport to an existing circle, you may not teleport to it again for 30 seconds. The spell is extremely useful for encounters where you will need to stack closely with your group at various points throughout a fight. Taking Burning Rush gives you the ability, and using it will instantly increase your movement speed by 50% until the spell is cancelled. The caveat is that while the spell is active, you will take 4% of your maximum health every second. Also note that you cannot be reduced below 100% movement speed while this spell is active. Taking Dark Pact grants you the ability on a 1-minute cooldown. Activating the spell will sacrifice 20% of your demon's health to grant you a shield for 400% of the health sacrifice that lasts for 20 seconds. If you don't have an active demon, your own health will be sacrificed instead. Please also note that you will be unable to cast this spell while under a control impairing effect, such as Fear, Daze, or Stun. Also, this is a great talent to choose for progression if you aren't having issues with mobility and have not taken the Grimoire of Sacrifice talent. Taking a look at the 6th tier here at level 90, taking Grimoire of Supremacy will allow you to control your greater demons in the same way that you can control your normal demons, by way of summoning them one at a time with a 3-second cast time. This talent will remove the cooldown of Doomguard and Infernal and make them count as your one summonable demon. Summoning the Doomguard will also grant you the command demon effect of Shadow Lock, which interrupts the spell cast and stops spells of that school from being cast for 6 seconds on a 25-second cooldown. Summoning the Infernal will grant you Meteor Strike, which causes all enemies around the Infernal to take fire damage and be stunned for 2 seconds on a 1-minute cooldown. Taking Grimoire of Service will allow you to summon a demon at the cost of 1 soul shard to fight for you for 25 seconds on a 1.5-minute cooldown. A demon summoned through this will deal 100% increased damage, but you will be unable to control it. When one of these demons is summoned, they will immediately use their special ability. The Imp will cleanse a harmful magical effect, the Voidwalker will taunt, the Succubus will seduce a humanoid, and the Fell Hunter will interrupt a spellcast. These effects should be taken into consideration when summoning one of them. Taking Grimoire of Sacrifice grants you the ability to sacrifice your summoned demon immediately, granting you an hour-long buff that will cause you to sometimes deal additional shadow damage with your spells. Note that it does not matter which demon you sacrifice, as you will not gain their command demon spell with this effect. Now for the 7th and final tier at level 100. Taking Soul Effigy will grant you the ability with a 1.5-second cast time that creates a secondary target that is only attackable by you, lasting for 10 minutes. You may only use this spell on one target at a time, but 35% of all damage dealt to the effigy will be transferred to the original target. The effigy has 130% of the target's health and can be used to generate additional soul shards in fights where there are very few targets. The best practice here is to keep your Agony, and Siphon Soul if you've taken it, continuously rolling on it to generate shards while you lay into your primary target with your other spells. Taking Phantom Singularity gives you the ability on a 1-minute cooldown. Casting the spell will deal damage over 16 seconds to all enemies within 25 yards of your target, also healing you for 30% of the damage dealt. While this can be useful for some encounters with large amounts of enemies to attack, there are other talents better suited for AoE in your toolkit. Taking Soul Conduit gives you a 20% chance to refund a soul shard every time you consume one. This talent can be effective in both single target and AoE situations and is a good substitute for not having to worry about keeping your Agony at full stacks on a soul effigy. Now that we've gone through all the talents, it's time for my thoughts on the tree overall. Most of the great talents available to Affliction add abilities to your spellbook, but taking the passive route is still perfectly viable if you want less to manage. The best and coolest of all the talents is Soul Effigy, not only giving you a free source of damage that only you can hit, but allowing you to basically have your own Gul'dan-esque snack machine, healing yourself steadily with the Siphon Life talent. My favorite build playing around with Affliction so far is as follows: Writhen Agony, Contagion, Demon Skin, Siphon Life, Demonic Circle, Grimoire of Sacrifice, and Soul Effigy. This build is extremely heavy on damage over time management and multi-dotting, but when you're able to pull off max Agony and UA chains consistently, your damage soars. That's all I have for the talent overview for the Affliction Warlock in Legion, but not the end of the series. Hopefully this video has given you enough information to be confident when choosing your own talents. Subscribe to keep an eye out once Legion starts for a comprehensive guide including the artifact weapon for your favorite class. Of course, if you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask them in the comments below or on Twitter @TheLoranzis. Thank you for watching, and as always, have fun.